Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here, and Galakrond's Awakening Week 1 is upon us. We're going to get some new cards for 4 weeks in a row that are playable in Standard and Wild format, and on the first week there are 11 new cards that have been added to the meta. 4 of them are available for everyone, they came out for free, and for the rest you need to pay 700 gold or part with some of your hard-earned cash. And in the upcoming 3 weeks, all the cards you will have to pay for, either with gold or with cash in order to get access to them. Galakrond's Awakening overall doesn't seem to be that strong of an adventure. Most of its cards just don't seem to be particularly powerful. There are a lot of cards in the set that are coming over the next weeks that seem like, okay, I want to try this out. Maybe there's something you can do with this. But there are very few cards that you can just look at and say, oh wow, this card is amazing. And the first week doesn't really deliver on the amazing part either. There's the 4 free cards that are available. There's Air Raid, a Paladin twin spell, summon 2 1/1 silverhand recruits with taunt. I actually thought this might be something because being a twin spell, all those resources. But the only deck where it seems to see play at the moment is a King Faris Paladin, which just runs a lot of spells. Prismatic Lens, King Faris tries to cheat out King Faris early. And Air Raid is basically used as a minion in the deck in order to not put actual minions into it. And the win rate of the card seems very low, so I expected more out of Air Raid than it seems to be able to deliver. Then there's the Warlock, Twisted Knowledge, discover 2 Warlock cards. But discovering Warlock spells has already been done a few times, and I've always been disappointed with the results. And this one seems equally disappointing. Maybe you can find some room to play it in some sort of handlock decks or Highlander decks, but it doesn't seem very powerful overall. The best of these free cards is actually the Warrior card, Bomb Wrangler. 3 mana 2/3, whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 1/1 boom bot. This seems to slot in very nicely into Galakrond Warriors, maybe into some sort of aggro warriors. What exactly is the card that it's going to replace? It's still a little bit up in the air, but I have an early deck list later in this video that features Bomb Wrangler, and Bomb Wrangler is performing above average in those decks, so it's actually a pretty decent card in the decks. And then there's the big Shaman spell, Eye of the Storm, 10 mana, summon 3 5/6 elementals with taunt, and it overloads you for 3. And right now it seems very slow for the current meta. There's going to be a Shaman weapon that benefits from having expensive spells, but I have a hard time seeing that one still working out, so the stuff that we got for free, with the exception of the Bomb Wrangler, isn't too impressive. Then again, maybe the same does apply to the stuff that you need to pay for. If you pay for the first wing of the adventure, you immediately receive these 3 cards. Fresh Scent, a 2 mana twin spell, give a beast +2/+2, so you can pay 4 mana to give a beast +4/+4, which makes it essentially a Blessing of Kings, and I mean, Blessing of Kings is a decent card. But this one has the requirement that the target has to be a beast. So basically the only type of deck where you can play this is a deck, the sort of Dire Frenzy style beast-based Midrange Hunter. You don't want to put it in any other deck. But Wire already built that sort of Midrange Hunter and did fairly decently with it, so it's one of the better decks that are using the new cards. But the thing is that it still doesn't seem to be as good as the existing Hunter decks, even though it is a deck that you can climb with. So Fresh Scent for a beast-based hunter deck, okay, that's a decent card. Then there's Licensed Adventure, 2 mana 3 to battlecry if you control a quest, add a coin to your hand. That's not bad. We haven't really found out how to use it yet. I mean, people are putting it into Quest Hunter, for example, people are putting it into Quest Rogue. None of the lists so far have impressed, but the card itself seems like it should be okay. I'm sure there will be some ways to use it in the future. And then there's the rogue card Shadow Sculptor, 5 mana 3, 2 combo, draw a card for each card you played this turn. It's kind of like a Gadget and Auctioneer, except that it's worse. So, yeah. If you want to draw cards, you just put the Gadget and Auctioneer into the deck. People have of course been experimenting with the Shadow Sculptor, but the results are so far very disappointing. Then there's 4 cards that you get for playing through the purchased part of the wing. And most of these cards are also like, maybe there's something you can do with them, but maybe not. Like Skydiving Instructor. 3 mana 2/2 battle cry summon a 1-cost minion from your deck. People are experimenting with this in zoo-based decks. So far no real list has surfaced, but the preliminary results are better than I initially thought that this card would be. And I mean, it does thin your deck, so maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's something you can accomplish with it in a zoo-style deck. We just need to wait to see until we get the actual list that actually performs. And unfortunately for budget players, even though it's a common card, it is gated behind 700 gold. So probably not going to feature in budget list. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Then the priest card, Dark Prophecy. Discover a 2-cost minion, summon it and give it +3 health. Unsurprisingly, if you get like an injured Tolver and you summon it as a 2/9 taunt, yeah, you're off to a good start. But many of the others are much more disappointing. And which priest deck really wants to have a 3-cost minion that's kind of random? Priest doesn't really have that sort of decks at the moment. Maybe there's something to it with combo priest, but we'll see. It doesn't seem to fit into many priest archetypes. And then there's the Mage Animated Avalanche. Some people were hopeful about this, especially in combination with the evocation, so that you can discount it by 2, so you can play it for 5, and then you can get 2 7/6 elementals for 5. But the requirement having played an elemental last turn, there's no taunt, there's no rush. It just has not been able to deliver at all so far. And finally, the card that I was most hopeful about for week 1, Winged Guardian. I've just compared this to other taunt minions that can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. This is insanely valuable. 7 mana, 6/8. It has a beast stack, maybe there's some use for that. Taunt and reborn and can't be targeted, so when it comes back you can't ping it, you can't mortal coil it. It's really a very strong minion, but it's a minion that comes to one of the weakest classes at the moment, which is Druid. And Druid is really doing miserably at the moment. But we have already seen ramp Druid decks surface. Monsanto made one immediately after the wing was out. I saw a version of that list being played by Thijs. I'm not sure if it was Thijs' own addition, possibly. And those decks actually seem to have a over 50% win rate. So Winged Guardian is such a good card that maybe it can even do something in a very weak class. But it cannot bring them up to like a tier 1 deck. That just doesn't happen with a single card. Not even with a card as good as Winged Guardian, but Winged Guardian definitely looking like a good card, and there are some semi-viable decks built around it. So looking into the most viable decks that have actually been built around these cards. First, the Ramp Druid. Breath of Dreams, Wild Growth, just ramp up. Witching Hour, Predatory Instincts, just get those beasts out there, get your beast, make them big, get them into play. Monsanto was playing this sort of deck within minutes after the expansion released, and then this version with Orndusta in it, I first saw Thijs play this, and the addition of Orndusta seems to improve the deck quite significantly actually. So with Orndusta, Winged Guardians, Witchwood Grizzlies as the beasts, it's looking like a deck that can hold its own, and it is one of the most promising Druid decks that have been around as of late. I mean, yeah, there's like token Druids, but those are very different playstyle. For the slower Druid decks, then Winged Guardian really seems to breathe some life into the archetype. Then there's Wirers, Midrange Hunter, Fresh Scent, kind of decent card, but that limitation that you have to target a beast with it, that's a big if. You really need to build a deck around beasts. Well, Master's Call, Dire Frenzy, you can build it around the beasts, but is it better than Face Hunter? Is it better than Hunter? I don't think it is, but it's something, and it's definitely a playable deck. And it makes use of Fresh Scent, and Fresh Scent is like a mediocre performance card in the deck, so it does fit in. So something there if you want to play with a new card. And finally, the Matter of the Bomb Wrangler. This one I picked up Of HSReplay, it's a Galakrond Warrior that has Bomb Wrangler slotted in. I'm not sure if the substitution that has been made for this list is the ideal one. Because stuff like Battle Rage seems to have fairly low drawn win rate in this archetype. I'm not at all convinced that the deck should run 2 copies of Battle Rage, for example. So what is the slot that Boomerang is going to replace? I'm not sure, but Boomerang so far is performing above average in the deck, so it seems like it's a good addition to the deck. 3 mana slot, it's a slot where the deck is traditionally fairly weak, and in a meta where there's a lot of rush and a lot of ways to react and stuff like Frothing Berserker usually cannot carry you, but Bomb Wrangler summoning some Boombots seems to be a promising addition. So overall, Galakrond's Awakening Week 1 does not seem to change the meta significantly. The top decks are almost unaffected. Galakrond Warrior being one of the top decks is the only one that's really affected. There's a couple of other decks that have become viable now, but they're not exactly top tier. There's still a couple of cards that were released in Week 1 that might find some uses, but there are no real decks around them yet. So fairly low impact overall, but there are a couple of things that you can do if you want to play with the new cards. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.